Okay, everyone, let's go ahead and begin today's presentation. All of us here at Verifyle are extremely pleased about the partnership that we now have in place with CalCPA. All of you as CalCPA members should know that as a result of this partnership, you all have the ability to use the paid version, the premium version of Verifyle, which is Verifyle Pro, at no charge to you or anyone at all with whom you would like to share information. You get access to the full suite of capabilities, including the ability to brand your Verifyle Pro system as you would like, and also unlimited electronic signatures capability. You can access your Verifyle Pro system by simply going to verifyle.com/CalCPA and then be prepared to enter your member ID. All right. So quick caveat here, I am not an accounting or tax expert. However, I'm going to be showing you some very helpful general sharing examples to stress the key concepts for use behind Verifyle to really get you up and rolling with your Verifyle Pro system as quickly as possible. You should know that there are people who are currently using Verifyle mainly for sharing purposes. Others use it primarily for storage purposes. Some people use Verifyle mainly for sharing sensitive information internally with their colleagues and so forth. And still other professionals use Verifyle exclusively for securely sharing sensitive information back and forth with their clients. Others still use Verifyle for selectively sharing sensitive personal or family information. And I'll be showing you a number of these examples as we move forward here. Before we dive into the actual demonstration today, I should first give you a little bit of background information about Verifyle. Verifyle is based in Silicon Valley, and we are led by Jack Smith, who is the individual who invented and co-founded the company Hotmail, which was many people's first experience with both email and the internet. He also had key roles with two successful digital security companies, Ironport and Proximex. Verifyle is all about making communication better. And we see two key aspects of communication. Those are security and productivity, neither of which should come at the expense of usability. And the reason that we place such persistent emphasis on security is that we believe the near-term future of business will be characterized by two types of organizations and professionals. Those who successfully make that extra effort to protect and secure their own information and that of their constituents and continue to reap the long-term trust relationship benefits that derive from that, and those organizations and professionals who do not protect that information and see a gradual erosion in those trust relationships. We believe that the dividing line between those two types of professionals is going to crystallize in a major way over the next several years, and we want to make sure that all of our users fall on the positive side of that line. So, what is Verifyle? Verifyle is ultra-secure messaging and document sharing and storage all on a single screen, where in that single screen, for each situation that you're working on, whether that be a client engagement, project management, or any kind of sharing or storage of sensitive information, you can see exactly who has access to what information and if and when any individual has looked at or downloaded that information. So you always have a very heightened sense of situational awareness, not only about what's going on your side with respect to outbound sharing of that information, but what's going on the other side of that communication as well. You'll see that in action in just a few minutes here. Now, one way to think of Verifyle is as your all-in-one communication power tool, specifically designed for those situations that you have to be absolutely on top of, that must be well organized and above all, private and secure. In our secure single screen, we've incorporated the most powerful components of email, cloud file sharing, electronic signatures, and our patented encryption key management technology, CelluCrypt. which manages the interaction of 6 different encryption keys for each time that any individual accesses any single piece of information inside of Verifyle. So each data item inside of Verifyle has been individually encrypted, such that even if somebody were to break past our encryption, which they won't, all they would be able to access would be a single data item, and that's it. There's no potential for someone to break into Verifyle and scoop mass amounts of data to gain what we call bulk access, as they have done with systems like those at JP Morgan Chase, Experian, Home Depot, Target, Hilton, Wendy's, Anthem, Sony, Verizon, Equifax, and the list goes on and on. With Verifyle, there's no real incentive for someone to try and break in the first place because there's not that potential for a large-scale return on that hacker's efforts. So this is a huge reduction in risk for anyone who uses Verifyle. In fact, we would go as far as to say that it's a complete game changer in terms of your overall information risk profile. And as we go through today's demonstration, I'll be showing you instances of exactly how this works to help protect you. Okay. Also, as we go through the demonstration, please do bear in mind that you'll be seeing the system from my perspective, the perspective of a user. And even though Verifyle is backed by all of this encryption technology, by all of this security, as users, we don't need to create any encryption keys, memorize any encryption keys, manage or share any encryption keys at all. It all happens automatically, completely behind the scenes for us. Let's take a look. Okay, all of you should now be able to see the sign-in screen for Verifyle. And you can access this screen by using any major browser. It doesn't matter whether you're on a Mac, a PC, or a tablet computer. You're also welcome to use our very handy mobile app if you would like. I'm going to sign in here using my email address and my password. So I'm simply going to go ahead and click Next here. And I have selected the option inside of Verifyle such that Verifyle is also requesting of me an authenticator code. Now, the authenticator code is a code that appears on my mobile device, my handheld, and changes every 30 seconds. And the benefit of using such an authenticator code is that even if somebody were to somehow get a hold of my password, they still wouldn't be able to access my Verifyle system unless they also had the authenticator code. By the way, I'd like to point out that I do have the option also to click in this little box right here. If I do so, then I'm effectively telling the Verifyle system to remember this device. In other words, I'm telling the Verifyle system that in the future, if the Verifyle system recognizes that I am again attempting to sign in from this same device, my laptop computer, the Verifyle system should assume that it's me and let me in without asking for this additional authenticator code. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and type in the authenticator code. And now I'm in to the home screen of Verifyle. And the first thing I want to point out to you is up near the top center of the screen, you can see the CalCPA logo. So if you share anything using Verifyle with someone, then that person is going to see the CalCPA logo. However, you do have the option to swap out that CalCPA logo for any logo of your choosing. To do that, you simply click on your name at the top right and then go into the account settings area where you can add any logo that you would like in place of the CalCPA logo. And we'll take a look at that more in just a few minutes, by the way. The other thing that I wanted to point out to you is that here on the home screen of Verifyle, if you look up towards the left, you can see 2 tabs. These tabs represent the 2 main areas inside of your Verifyle Pro system. Right now, I'm inside the Workspaces area, which you can see by the fact that the Workspaces tab is highlighted. Okay, let's start out by going into the Contacts area first. So I'm going to click on the Contacts tab. Click. And now here you can see my list of contacts. These are people with whom I can communicate securely on a one-to-one basis in here in the Contacts area anytime that I would like. All right. Now, if I click on any of these names, you can see that, for example, for Larry Lender Bank, I've instantly opened up a private messages area between me and Larry Lender Bank, where I can type in any message that I would like right here, and also click on the paperclip symbol to upload any document, any file that I would like to share with Larry Lender Bank. and he sees the same interface on his side so that he can also securely communicate back with me. Let's do a real example. Let's say I meet someone new named Christine Carson, and I want to very quickly open up a secure communication between me and Christine. All I need to do is go to the Contacts tab, click on the plus symbol, and then type in Christine's name and her email address, like that. Click Add. And now you can see that Christine's name has been added to my contacts list, right? And here in the center, I can see private messages with Christine Carson. So I'll type a message for Christine, just like that. And I'm also going to click on the paperclip symbol, which allows me to upload a document for her, share a document to her. Okay, so why don't I add in an annuity policy document? So I click Send. Now the Verifyle system has encrypted both this private message, hi Christine, and the annuity policy document as those items were pulled into the Verifyle system. And you can see the annuity policy document expanded on over here, where I have a number of actions that I can do with it, which we'll take a look at in just a few moments. But for now, what I want to focus your attention on is the fact that I've just uploaded this information into Verifyle. As I have done so, the Verifyle system has automatically, completely behind the scenes, sent an email alert to Christine Carson, letting her know that I, Dana Shibley, am attempting to share with her a private message and also a document called Annuity Policy, okay? Now that email alert lands in Christine Carson's regular email box, okay? And some of you might be asking the question about whether Christine can actually access that private message and that document in the email alert. The answer is no, she cannot. The purpose of that email alert is simply to let Christine Carson know that that information awaits her securely inside of Verifyle, all right? We don't want to be sending sensitive information back and forth via email because email is not secure. Now, upon receiving that email alert, Christine Carson can simply click on the link in that email alert, which brings her into Verifyle, where she can either create her own password or click straight through on the automatically generated password for her, and then she will have instant access to the private message, hi Christine, and the actual annuity policy document. If she looks at the annuity policy document, I will instantly receive an email alert letting me know that she's looking at it. If she downloads the annuity policy document, I will instantly receive an email alert letting me know that she has downloaded it. So I, again, have full situational awareness about what's going on the other side of my communication. Okay, and by the way, if for some reason Christine feels uncomfortable clicking on the link in that email alert, then she can simply go to verifyle.com and go through that process to access this information. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this from Christine Carson's perspective now. I'm going to sign in as Christine Carson. I would have received an email alert, or maybe I'm already inside of Verifyle because I, Christine, am a regular user of Verifyle. So I see the alert up here, and then now I, Christine, can see that I have a private message from Dana Shibley. I see the message, hi Christine, and I see the annuity policy document, which I can click on here, or I can click on over here. And if I click preview to just quickly look at the document, that just sent an email alert to Dana. And if I click download, because I want to take a long look at this document, that just also sent an email alert to Dana, okay? So let's say that I, Christine, want to type a message back to Dana. Thanks, Dana. Got it. Can you please also bring in my husband to this communication? His name is Sammy's spouse. Okay. So as Christine, I've added this message for Dana, and I click send. By the way, I, Christine, also have the ability to click on this paperclip symbol if I would like and upload a document back to Dana, right? Okay, but I'm just going to type a message to Dana for now. I click send. Okay. So now let's go ahead back and look from Dana's perspective again. I'm back as Dana, and there I can see the message from Christine Carson. Okay, so very simply, very quickly, very easily, I am having a secure one-to-one communication back and forth with Christine Carson. All I need to do was click on the plus symbol and add in her name and email address. Okay, now at this point in time, in my communication with Christine Carson, I'm realizing, you know what? I think there's a possibility that I'm going to end up needing a deeper professional relationship, a deeper professional communication with Christine Carson. And when I say that, what I mean is that I might need some higher level communication capabilities. For example, I might need to bring in other people like her spouse, Sammy's spouse, or perhaps her business partner, or perhaps her attorney, or someone like that. Okay, so another thing that I might need the ability to do is to add in various topics about which to communicate with Christine and other people involved. So let's say, for example, I'm going to communicate with Christine not only about, let's say, tax planning, but also about estate planning. And I want to keep those communications somewhat separate because different people might be involved in those communications and different messages and different documents and so on and so forth. Okay, when I talk about higher level communication capabilities, I'm also talking about the ability to do things like take away documents from the communication once they become irrelevant or obsolete. Okay, in order for me to take advantage of these higher level communication capabilities, I need to start working inside of a workspace. Okay, so now I'm going to click on the Workspaces tab up near the top left. Click. And here you can see I've already got a list of workspaces, from family vital information to East Coast expansion, company ABC, et cetera, et cetera. These are all going to tend to be situations where there's a good chance there are multiple people involved and many, many back and forth communications, all time and date stamped, and many, many different documents and different people getting involved. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a workspace for client Christine Carson. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol next to Workspaces, and I will name this new workspace client Christine Carson, just like that. And now we can see that there is the new workspace. Notice that the host is Dana Shibley. That's me. I'm the host because I created this workspace. Okay, and as the host, I'm the only person who's going to have the ability to add and take away guests to this workspace. Okay, I'm the only person who's going to have the ability to add and take away topics, or what we call threads, as you'll see in just a moment. I'm also the only person who's going to have the ability to take away content like documents and so forth from this workspace. So the guests that I invite into this workspace will not have those abilities. All right, so let me click on the workspace, Client Christine Carson. Click, and now we're inside of a blank workspace. Here's the title of the workspace up at the top, Client Christine Carson, and the Verifyle system is prompting me to add a guest. So I click here to add a guest, and now I'm going to do a search for Christine Carson because she's the first person I'm going to add in here. All right, there we go. So I just added Christine Carson's name to this workspace. All right, there she is now in the guests area up near the top. What has happened is that the Verifyle system has recognized the name Christine Carson and the email address associated with her and figured out that, oh, Dana is going to be communicating with Christine Carson in this workspace, so it sure would be convenient for Dana to have access to the private message that he already used to begin communicating with Christine Carson in the contacts area. Okay, so this is the information that Christine and I typed back and forth in the contacts area. It's now at my fingertips as I begin working inside the Client Christine Carson workspace. Okay, the reason we created this workspace in the first place was so that we could take care of those higher level communication capabilities that we talked about earlier, right? So let's do that. The way I do that is inside of Workspace threads. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol here, and I'm going to create a workspace thread that I call tax planning. There we go. I'm going to create another workspace thread that I call estate planning. Okay. Let's first go into the tax planning workspace thread. Notice that it is private, meaning that no guests have access yet. Here we can see it in the center as well. So I want to give people access to this tax planning workspace thread. Okay, how do I do that? Well, that's easy. Whenever you're working inside your Verifyle Pro system and you feel like you don't know what to do next in order to move forward, when things are unclear, you want to go to the gear. Everywhere in Verifyle, if you move your cursor around, you can see the gear symbol. Okay, so I'm going to go to the gear for tax planning, and then I'm going to click on Manage Permissions. This is what gives me the ability to give anyone access to this tax planning workspace thread. So watch this. I click on Manage Permissions, and I'm going to give Christine Carson access, just like that. Now you can see that she has access. But she also asked me to bring in her spouse, remember? So let's give him access too. So I'm going back to the tax planning workspace thread here. I go to the gear, click on Manage Permissions, and I'm going to add her husband, Sammy Spouse. He's not in my list of contacts because I've never communicated with him before. So I'm going to have to add him. No problem. I'll go ahead and add his name and his email address. Just like that. Okay. So I add Sammy's spouse as well. And now we can see that Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse both have access to the tax planning workspace thread. I'm going to type a message here that they'll both be able to see. Okay, and let me click on the paperclip symbol and add in a few tax-related documents as well. Okay, let's see, say we bring in these documents, which I can just drag and drop in, by the way, like that, and click Send. So that information is encrypted as it's pulled into the Verifyle system. So Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse are going to have access to this message and all 4 of these documents. And I can see those same 4 documents listed over here on the right. Okay, and as I move my cursor around, you can also see the gear symbol popping up, right? Let's go ahead and click on the gear symbol for one of these. There we go. Notice that there are a number of things that I can do with respect to each of these documents, including renaming the document. I can view the access history for each document. It's going to tell me if and when and how many times each person who has access to this document has looked at it. We'll see how useful that is in just a moment. Okay, I can do other things like download the document, take a quick look at it to preview it, right? Download multiple documents, and I can also delete this document. Only I can delete this document. The guests, Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse, cannot delete this document because they are guests. Only I, the host, can delete any document once it's been put inside of here, okay? But we don't want to do that right now. Okay, I can also look at the colored tiles beneath each document and cross-reference those tiles to the colored tiles over here in the guests area to give me a quick sense of exactly who's got access to what document, okay? All right, let's go to the next workspace thread, estate planning. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and then I'm going to give access to certain people, and I do that by going to the gear, clicking on Manage Permissions. I'm going to give both Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse access to this particular workspace thread, and Christine has informed me, let's say, that she also wants her attorney to be involved in this estate planning workspace thread, right? She can't give her attorney access to this estate planning workspace thread because she, Christine, is a guest. Only I, the host, the creator of this workspace, can do that. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the gear, click on Manage Permissions, and I'm going to add that attorney. Let's say that her attorney is Lisa Lawyer. So I'm going to add Lisa Lawyer, just like that. And now you can see that Christine Carson, Lisa Lawyer, and Sammy Spouse all have access to the estate planning workspace thread. I'll type a message in here for all 3 of them. Maybe I'll type in Welcome Lisa, she's the newest one. And then I'll type in a message for all of them. Let's do some estate planning. And I'll click on the paperclip symbol. I'm going to pull in some estate planning documents. How about I pull in asset allocation and fiduciary agreement, last will and testament, life insurance policy, and living trust document. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull in those 5 documents, just like that. And now you can see that those 3 individuals right here have access to these 5 documents, also listed here. And they also have access, of course, to this message right here. Okay, so essentially what I'm doing is that I, the host of this workspace, client Christine Carson, am selectively giving access to different individuals for each workspace thread, right? I'm giving access to different documents and different messages, but I'm controlling it all from one place. So each of these guests will see kind of a customized or curated view of information as I see to be relevant to each of those individuals. And if I ever want to communicate one-to-one with any of these people, that's easy enough to do by me simply clicking on their name in the guests area, which opens up the private message with that particular person that I may have already started in the contacts area where we were first during today's demonstration. Okay, one more thing I want to do here is that as I'm working on this communication, all this information with respect to my client Christine Carson, it occurs to me that I'd like to have some information at my fingertips that's nice and safe and secure inside of Verifyle that nobody's going to have access to except me, kind of my reference materials. Well, how do I do that? Easy. I go to the plus symbol next to Workspace Threads, and I'm going to create a new thread that I call my reference materials, or my stuff, or whatever suits me, right? Okay, there's the new Workspace thread, private, no guests have access yet. No guests have access yet. That's okay, I don't want anyone else to have access. So now I'm going to click on the paperclip symbol, and I'm going to add in a few documents here. Let's say I add in these 4 documents just for my reference. Okay, and there, now you can see those 4 documents reside inside of Verifyle for my reference only. Nobody else has access to them, but each of these documents is individually encrypted with 6 unique encryption keys, just like the documents that I'm sharing with other people. So I can rest well at night knowing that this information is safe and secure inside of Verifyle. And if at any point in the future I do decide to share these documents, I have the ability to do that by simply going to the gear and then going into manage permissions, right? Okay, good enough. All right, let's go ahead and see what all of this looks like from the perspective of one of the guests. Okay, so let's go back in as Christine Carson. I'm Christine Carson again, and in the Workspaces area, I can see that there's a new workspace. I, Christine, can see that there's a new workspace called Client Christine Carson. I click on it, and I see here, okay, here's a workspace, Client Christine Carson. It's hosted by Dana Shibley, okay, and there are 2 workspace threads here, estate planning and tax planning. Please notice that the 3rd workspace thread, called My Reference Materials, is not visible to me, Christine Carson here. Why? Because the host, Dana Shibley, did not give me access to it. If he wants me to have access to it, he can give me access to it in just a few seconds by simply clicking in the appropriate box to give me access. All right, but right now I can see the estate planning workspace thread, and I can go in here and I can look at each of the documents if I would like to. And as you see, that clears the alerts. Let's say I have particular interest in the life insurance policy, so I quickly preview it. That just sent an email alert to Dana. I then download the life insurance policy. That also just sent an email alert to Dana, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and go into the tax planning area, and I can do the same thing. As you know, I can go in and I can clear all of the alerts, which clears the main alert for the workspace thread. As Christine Carson, as I'm in here looking at this information, I decided to take a closer look at the estate planning workspace thread. And in reality, there might be dozens or hundreds of different time and date stamped messages in here as I communicate back and forth with Lisa Lawyer and Dana Shibley and Sammy Spouse. But let's say that as I'm looking in here, I come to realize, you know what, Lisa Lawyer is really not adding a lot of value to this communication at all, and her hourly rate's really expensive. So I don't think I need Lisa Lawyer involved in my estate planning anymore. I want her out of this workspace thread. Can I, the guest, Christine Carson, remove her from this estate planning workspace thread? No, I cannot. I'm going to look to my professional, my accountant, my tax professional, Dana Shibley, or my estate planning professional, Dana Shibley, to remove Lisa Lawyer for me. Okay, so would I go ahead and type that message right here? Dana, please get rid of Lisa Lawyer. Probably not, because that might be a little bit rude. Lisa's going to see that, but I can go right here and click on Dana Shibley's name, which opens up the private message between me and Dana Shibley, which I also have access to from the contacts area. And I'll type a private message to Dana. Let's get rid of this attorney, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so I type that message to Dana, just like that. Now, I'm going to go back into the system now and look from Dana's perspective. I'm Dana again, okay? I, as Dana, can see the private message from Christine Carson, let's get rid of this attorney. So I think to myself, oh, she must mean the attorney in her in the estate planning workspace thread. That's the only attorney we've been working with. And she'd probably write more detail there in the real world, right? So I go to the estate planning workspace thread, and I, as the host of this workspace, have the ability to simply go to the gear, click on Manage Permissions, and in a single click, get rid of Lisa Lawyer, the attorney, just like that. Now notice Lisa Lawyer no longer has access to any of the information inside of the estate planning workspace thread. And then I get a phone call or another message inside of Verifyle from my client, Christine Carson, who tells me she's got a new attorney. Easy enough. What do? I go to the gear, click on Manage Permissions, and I'm going to add in the new guest, who is, let's say, Lenny Lawyers. Just like that. All right. So now Christine Carson, Lenny Lawyers, and Sammy Spouse all have access to the estate planning workspace thread, which, by the way, as I mentioned before, might have hundreds of time and date stamped messages here reaching back for months or even years, and dozens of documents as well. It sure is handy that in about 20 seconds, I had the ability to remove the old attorney, Lisa Lawyer, and bring in the new attorney, Lenny Lawyers, to have full access to this historical transcript related to all the estate planning for my clients, Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse. Okay, and Lenny Lawyers, yes, can see all the comments and all the documents added in by the prior attorney, Lisa Lawyer, as well. Okay, so that is very convenient. Imagine trying to, that quickly, transfer the entire historical record of communications to a new person using email and email attachments. What a nightmare, right? In Verifyle, you can do that literally in 20 or 30 seconds. Okay, moving forward. Dana, am realizing that the life insurance policy was particularly complicated. It had a number of implications affecting estate planning and taxation and other things as well. So I want to know who's looked at that life insurance policy. All I need to do as the host, Dana, is go to the life insurance policy document here on the right, and then go ahead and click on the gear symbol, and I'm going to click on View Access History. Okay, and here I can see that for the life insurance policy document, Lenny Lawyers has still not accessed it. Well, that's okay. I just gave him access a few minutes ago, right? Sammy Spouse still hasn't accessed it. That's a little surprising. But Christine Carson has looked at it 2 times. And in fact, if I click here, I can see the exact dates and times that Christine Carson has looked at this particular document. If she had looked at this document 25 times, I would see every single one of those 25 times listed here. And this is very valuable for me to be able to see the dates and times and the number of times that she's looked at this document. It gives me some sense, perhaps, of the level of importance of this particular document to my client, Christine Carson, right? Something else that kind of elevates my sense of situational awareness and enables me to service her as well as possible. Also, if I can see that she looked at this document 10 minutes ago and I have a phone call scheduled with her in 30 minutes, it's probably a good idea for me to be really on top of that document, to really understand what's in that document and be able to field her questions when I have the phone call with her. All right, so heightening my ability to better service my client. And another thing I could do along the same lines is that at any time that I'm inside of a workspace thread like estate planning or inside of a private message with one other individual, I can always click on the names at the top here, and I can see the last date and time that that person was inside the workspace thread looking at things. So Lenny Lawyers hasn't been in here yet, but I can see the exact date and time that Christine Carson was looking inside of here. So I have a sense of the recency of this information in her mind. very, very helpful for keeping me on top of the whole situation. Okay, so I should point out to all of you, by the way, that when you think about these workspace threads, don't only think about them as a place where people that you select can type messages into here and add documents. Think of these workspace threads, if you will, as kind of subfolders within the larger organizational framework of the Workspace client, Christine Carson. Okay, so you might find that some of your more demanding or meticulous clients, they would really appreciate if you give them kind of a portfolio view of all their estate issues or all of their taxation or financial issues of any kind, right? So for example, I might have a workspace thread entitled Taxes 2021, another one called Taxes 2020, Taxes 2019, et cetera, et cetera. If my client is involved in real estate or heavy equipment, I might have a workspace thread called Depreciation Issues. And you can imagine all the kind of categories relevant to each particular client of yours. And so that makes it, if I organize that information well, that's going to make me look like a pro, because whenever that client of mine signs into Verifyle, that client's going to see all that information laid out there in nice, well-labeled workspace threads. All right, it's going to really look like I have it together. And then I don't have to worry about that client bothering me. Hey, can you get me this particular document? I can't find it anymore, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so you can really use that to your advantage. Okay, let's go ahead and let's go through signing of a document. I think that's probably very relevant to most of you, if not all of you. So I'm now inside of the tax planning workspace thread, and I'm going to ask Christine to sign a document. Hi, Christine, please sign this doc. Okay, so I'm going to click on the paperclip symbol. And let's say that I'm going to ask Christine to sign this engagement letter. Okay, so now you know that if I click send right here, it's simply going to share that document, right? But I want a signature on this document. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put a check in this little box right here to request signing. And now I click send. Okay, then I have to complete that request by clicking on the orange rectangle right here. So I click on complete request. I want just Christine Carson to sign this document. I click next. Okay, now I have a couple of decisions to make. Do I want Christine Carson to have to agree to this statement of terms before she has the ability to sign the document? Okay, I agree to do business electronically. And by the way, I can make that statement of terms say whatever I would like it to say. Let's leave it as is for now. If I don't want her to have to agree to that statement of terms, I can simply click no here, but I do want her to agree to that statement of terms, so I'll leave that. And also, do I want to add SMS verification to the signature process? And let's say yes, that I do want Christine Carson to have to input a one-time signature code. Okay, so I'm going to put in the phone number that I have for Christine Carson, and that phone number is, okay, so I put that phone number in, and then I click on next. Okay, now the document appears in front of me, and as I move my mouse, you can see the cursor on the screen move. I'm simply going to scroll down and draw a little rectangle for where I want the signature to be. So I click here, and I inform the Verifyle system whether I want a signature, initials, date, or some custom information to be in that particular location. I want the signature there. Let's say that I want the date to be here, and I would like initials to be here, for example. All right. So I label those areas, and then I click on Submit Request. Okay. And so now the Verifyle system, as you probably expect, has automatically sent an email alert to Christine Carson, letting her know that I, Dana Shibley, am sharing with her an engagement letter for signature. So let's go back in again as Christine Carson. Okay, and as Christine Carson, I can now see the orange rectangle that I can click on for me to be able to review and sign the engagement letter document. So I click here. Okay, and first, I am being asked to agree to do business electronically. If I click no, I will be kicked out and I will not be allowed to sign this document. Okay, so I'm going to choose yes. Okay, and now the 7-digit code is being requested of me. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. Here we go. Hi, Christine. I'm looking at my mobile phone and getting the 7-digit code. And I click submit. Okay. And then I confirm my signature. And I confirm where my signature goes on the document by clicking on confirm here, confirming the date here. And then I'm confirming the date here. Okay. And then I type a quick message back to Dana. Done. Okay. And now I click submit. All right. So that, as you expect, has automatically sent an email alert to Dana, letting Dana know that the engagement letter _ signed is now available for him. So I'm going to go back in as Dana, and we'll see the document signed pop up here in just a second. There it is. So I can go ahead and click here, or I can click here. It doesn't matter. Why don't I go ahead and click here this time? And so there's the engagement letter _ signed. And why don't I just preview it real quickly? So I'm going to preview it. And now I can see where the document has been signed, and there's the date as well. Okay, so sign a document. And I can go ahead and click the X here. And anytime that I would like for this document or any other document that I have an electronic signature on inside of Verifyle, I can go ahead and click on View Signing Info. And here I can see the source document, pre-signature. I can see the signed document, date and time, right? And I can see that the signature requester was me, right? And I can see the signer, Christine Carson, her email address. I can also see her IP address per IRS regulations, right? And I can see that she has agreed to the terms. She has accepted the terms. I agreed to do business electronically. And I can also see that there was success in the identity verification as well. All right. And if I'd like, I can print that information out to PDF or on paper or whatever I would like to do. All right, so let me go ahead and close that out. And since we were in here looking at a preview of this document, let me show you a couple other things real quickly here. I'll click on preview. You should know that if you click on the purple pen when you're in preview mode for any document, you have the ability to reorder the pages. You also have the ability to delete any of the pages that you would like to. And you have the ability to click on add annotation and type in any kind of information at all that you would like, either in a handwriting font or in a print font, whatever you would like to do. Okay, and shortly inside of Verifyle, you will also see the ability to merge documents. That'll be very useful for a lot of you, I'm sure. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. Another thing real quickly, since we're in here, I showed you how to share documents with different people by doing what? By going to the gear, right? And clicking on manage permissions and adding or taking away permission from different people. But you also have the ability inside of a single screen here, if you want to share a document into another Workspace thread or share it with another individual person, you can simply click on the image, the thumbnail of that document, and you can slide it over to share it into a different Workspace thread or into a private message with any individual that you like. All right, so that's very convenient. Okay, so let's move ahead. Hopefully you're all now getting a good sense for how to use Verifyle. I do want to point something out at a very high level that's important for all of you to understand about Verifyle. It's often overlooked, but it's important to point out how we're effectively controlling all of the communications and core information related to client Christine Carson here in this single interface. Especially in our part of the state, Silicon Valley, there are a lot of software companies that would try and have you believe that really powerful, really good software is characterized by software that's got a lot of different pages and modules that you buy up to and so on and so forth. And I would just emphasize to you that nothing could be farther from the truth, okay? It's extremely powerful to have all this information related to client Christine Carson in a single location here, in this workspace, because that makes it more tangible. And when you make information and all of these communication relationships more tangible, it becomes more concrete in your mind. It becomes easier to wrap your head around and think strategically, high level, about how you move the situation forward, okay? Great software is not characterized by having lots of different modules and features and pages to look at. Great software is characterized by software that allows you to understand more while you're looking at less, okay? And also that allows you to accomplish more while doing less. And that's what this interface lets you do. Okay, so by the way, best practice in your industry looks a heck of a lot like you're going to want to have a single workspace for each of your major clients, and also a single workspace for each particular project or major task that you're working on. Okay, and this also serves as a wonderful cue card for you, by the way, kind of a digital cue card, because if I go home here, you can see that I still have this workspace here, client Christine Carson, as well as a number of other workspaces. But let's say I've got 150 clients listed up here. It sure is nice that if I get one of those clients calling me out of the blue on the telephone, a client that I haven't spoken to in some months, and that client immediately starts talking about some very detailed issues that I haven't thought about in a long time. And by the way, I've talked to 600 other people since I've spoken to this client. It sure is nice that oh, okay, this is Christine Carson, and I can click on her name and immediately see all the relevant people and the topical issues and the documents right in front of my face to bring my mind back to that place that's going to allow me to best service that client right then without missing a beat. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward here. I'm going to go to the home icon, and I am going to point out to you some information here in some workspaces that I created in advance for the sake of saving time. And some of these will be very relevant to you, I'm sure. Let's say that I have a particular client, company ABC, and I handle all of the accounting and financial planning and tax issues and so forth for company ABC. It sure is nice that I can click on this workspace where listed in the guests area, I can see all of the employees within company ABC that I communicate with from time to time, and I can click on any particular name to communicate immediately with any of those individuals. And I've also created a number of workspace threads ranging from sales planning to legal action, management financials, tax related, et cetera, where I've grouped people in a sensible way to communicate with them about these various issues. Okay, very, very handy. And both I and my client, all the people at company ABC, can rest well at night knowing that their information is not scattered, but is well organized and safe and secure inside of Verifyle. Along the same lines, let's say that I have a client that is perhaps representing not only their individual interests, but the interests of an entire family, immediate and extended family members. Okay, perhaps it's a high net worth family that has a number of business interests as well. So there are various family members involved, but also various professional services providers, okay? Such a family might be the Rockefeller family. So if I click here, okay, let's say my main contact is Ricky Rockefeller, okay? But Ricky Rockefeller's got a number of immediate and extended family members like Susie's stepsister and Rhonda Rockefeller. And he's also got a number of professional services providers like Arnold Advisor and Ed Executive, his business partner, and Larry Lender Bank, and so forth, right? And these various family members and professional services providers are very interested in a number of different documents, such as Ricky Rockefeller's asset list, his life insurance policy, his last will and testament, and so on and so forth. And I have organized so I can communicate with any of these people on a one-to-one basis, but I've also organized the information in a sensible way. I've organized the information and also the people in workspace threads that I've titled tax considerations, estate planning, legal requirements, et cetera, right? So the point I'm making here is that not only am I assisting Ricky Rockefeller using all of my accounting skills, but I'm also raising my value proposition to Ricky Rockefeller in that I am acting as a steward of his information, if you will. I am able to make sure that the right people in his family network and in his professional services provider network get access to the right information. And I can remove people from that flow, and I can add people to that flow at the discretion of Ricky Rockefeller, of course. And I also have a record of exactly who has accessed what information and when. So I'm really upping my game in terms of making my services indispensable to Ricky Rockefeller, right? As well as keeping his information absolutely private and secure inside of Verifyle. So this reflects very well back upon me, and also, if I'm fortunate, might also give me some other individuals in his network that may decide that my services are good and they might want to do business with me as well in the future. All right, so I'm just trying to point out some ways here to add value to the professional relationship, as all of us are trying to do as professionals. Okay, so here we are back at the Workspaces list here. Let's move forward because we're running out of time. And what I want to do is point out another thing here real quickly. As you know, at any time I can click on the Contacts tab, click on the plus symbol, and add an individual's name and email address so that I can quickly be communicating on a one-to-one basis in a private message securely with that individual. Okay, but it sure would be nice if I could bulk import contacts from another software system that I happen to be using right now. And I can do that using the CSV file format, which is the standard file format used by software companies to export and import contact information. Okay, and if I bulk import contacts into Verifyle, that means at any point in time, without having to worry about typing in their name and email address, I can communicate securely one-to-one with any of my contacts. And when I pull those people into a Workspace thread, again, I don't have to worry about typing that information in. It'll already be inside there, and I can just quickly add people, take people away from Workspace threads as I need to. Okay. If you need a little help with the bulk importing contacts using the CSV file format, if you go to YouTube and type in Verifyle contacts, there's a very brief, simple video there that shows you how to do that. Okay. All right, so let me close this out, and then let me go up to the top right-hand corner of the screen. Okay, if you go to the top right-hand corner of your screen in your Verifyle Pro system, and you click on your name, and then click on Account Settings, what you'll see is this. Okay, here I have the ability to edit my name. Okay, and I have the ability to edit my signature as well. So you'll be able to do those things when you go into the account setting area of your system. You can swap out the CalCPA default logo for any logo of your choosing by simply clicking here. Okay, and here you can see exactly how much of your storage space that you've used. You can see here that I've used 15 megabytes of 100 gigabytes of my CelluCrypt encrypted storage space. And if my math is correct, that's about 1.5/100th of 1% of my total encrypted storage allotment in Verifyle. So all of you get 100 gigabytes because you're Verifyle Pro users, right? And for those of you who joined us a few minutes late, as members of CalCPA, you get access to Verifyle at no charge to you and no charge to anyone with whom you'd like to exchange information back and forth with or request a signature from. Okay. Automatically send alerts is on. This is what automatically sends an email alert to anyone that I add a message or document for. Okay, document activity alerts is on. This is what sends me an email alert whenever somebody looks at, downloads, or shares a document that I've shared with them with someone else inside of Verifyle. And message edit I have as on. Okay, some of you might want to turn that off so the messages are completely uneditable. Obviously, that's your choice, and you would just click here if you want to turn message edit off. Okay, block list. Blocking somebody is not bad in Verifyle. If you add someone to your block list, it simply makes it so that when that person puts something inside of Verifyle for you, you will not receive an email alert about that. You will still see the internal alert inside of Verifyle. So for example, there's someone I work with every day who he's in Verifyle all the time, I'm in Verifyle all the time, and we're sharing information back and forth every single day. I don't need an email alert every time that person shares something with me. I'll definitely see it. So I might block that person, for example. And then in security settings, here you can see that I have the ability to change my password by clicking here. I can click here on Session Management, click, and this will allow me to see any sessions that I have open on other browsers or on other devices. Okay, so I can close those sessions out. And very importantly, I have the ability to grab this slider right here by clicking on it and indicate to Verifyle the amount of time after which, if I have been inactive inside of Verifyle, that the Verifyle system should automatically sign me out. I like to leave that at about 1 or 2 hours. So this is very handy for those of you who might sometimes forget to sign out of your Verifyle system. Okay. All right, two-factor authentication, that's what I used at the beginning of today's demonstration to sign on, and then password reset capability. This merits a brief discussion here. This is a very, very powerful security feature, but you must use it with full awareness of exactly what it requires of you in terms of responsibility. So, arguably, the biggest weakness today on the internet is that posed by email. There's a very large, robust black market out there for email credentials. If someone gets a hold of your email credentials, there's a high likelihood they'll be able to gain full access to your email, after which they'll search through your various folders, your sent box, your trash box, et cetera, and look for information to monetize, right? Some of the savvier individuals will dig even deeper and look for evidence of various online services that you're using, and then go to each of those online services and then click on the link where something is written like, I'd like to reset my password, or I need a new password, or help me with my password, or something to that effect. And then upon clicking on that, in many cases receive an email at the email account of yours that they've taken over, and then attempt to actually reset those passwords to your various online services, effectively hijacking a good portion of your online identity. This type of thing is happening to people every single day. Now, if you turn off password reset, it will make it so that even if somebody does somehow get access to your email account and then tries to get into your Verifyle account, the Verifyle system will not let them change your password from the outside. Okay, I use this feature. I sleep very well at night knowing that nobody is going to mess with my information inside of Verifyle. But I have taken that added responsibility of writing my password down and putting it someplace safe and secure. This is all a very nice way of me telling you that if you turn off password reset capability, you are taking full responsibility for your security. I'm telling you that if you forget your password, you will not ever get access to your information again, and even we can't get you in to your system to get that access, okay? So for some of you, that's the type of security that you're looking for, I'm sure, and probably a bunch of you, I just scared you away. If you decide to go through this process and click here, you'll see a warning that kind of highlights that information for you in a little more detail. Okay, so hopefully all of you now have a good overall sense for Verifyle and how to get rolling with your Verifyle Pro system. At this point in time, I'd like to quickly just say thank you to all of you for watching today's presentation, and we really appreciate that CalCPA has partnered with us to allow us to extend to you the Verifyle Pro system. And please do have a heads up for an email alert that you'll be receiving very shortly, inviting you into Verifyle to access a little more information that I think you'll find helpful to really get you rolling with your Verifyle Pro system. Okay, we're about 5 minutes after the hour here, but I did promise to try and get to some questions, so let's just take a look real quickly at the questions here. Okay, so is there a way to increase storage? There is not currently a way to increase storage. That is something that we are considering, but it is very, very rare that an individual, in fact, I don't think I've ever run into the case in your industry where a single individual has gone over the 100 gigabyte allotment of storage space. The only people who seem to run into that are people who work in creative fields like film and so forth. Okay, I also see a number of questions here along the lines of how long does information remain in Verifyle? Can it be deleted, et cetera, et cetera? So the short answer is that information remains in Verifyle in perpetuity. However, if you are the host of a workspace, like I am the host of the Workspace client Christine Carson, which we built out, as you know, at any point in time, I can go ahead in and I can click on a particular document because I am the host of this workspace. I can go to the gear and click Delete Document and delete any document that I would like, right? Because I'm the host of this workspace. I can also go ahead to any workspace thread and do what? When things are unclear, I go to the gear. I can go to the gear and I can click on Remove Thread from Workspace. All right, so I'm removing this workspace thread from the workspace. It's now gone. And remember that Lisa Lawyer used to be involved in the estate planning workspace thread, but then I plucked her out of there. Well, if I don't even want to see her name on the guest list here, I can click on the gear and remove the guest, Lisa Lawyer, from this workspace. Her name is now gone. And yes, I can delete an entire workspace as well by clicking on the icon to bring me home. Okay, there's the workspace, client Christine Carson. Deleting a workspace is a two-step process. I can go to the gear, click on it. First, I archive the workspace. Watch what happens here. So I click Archive Workspace. So now that workspace is gone from the colored active area. But if I click on Archive, there I can see the client Christine Carson workspace. Great, right? In the archived area. By the way, if someone adds a new document or a new message to this workspace, it's going to kick it back up automatically into the colored area, so I'll see it, right? And I can go to the gear here, and I can manually unarchive this workspace, which again kicks it back up to the top to the colored workspace area. Or if I'm really sure that I want to delete this workspace, I can click here to delete workspace, and now the client Christine Carson workspace is completely gone. It's gone. Okay, can a guest download a document from the workspace? Yes, anyone you share information with in Verifyle, whether it's through a workspace thread or a private message, they have the option to look at that document by clicking on it. They can click on Preview to look at it real quickly, or they can download the document, right? So absolutely. Okay, and yes, electronic signatures using Verifyle meets all the requirements per the IRS, and I welcome you to read about that in more detail if you would like by going to the compliance area of our website. You can see that spelled out in great detail. One more question here, and then we'll wrap up. Can you create a sub-workspace thread? Right now, you cannot. So you have two levels. You have the workspace level, and then you have the ability to put any number of workspace threads in that particular workspace. Okay? We have to constantly be balancing the need to keep this as utilitarian as possible for you, but not let it get complicated. So anything that we try and add, we have to make sure that we're doing it in the best way possible. So right now, you're limited to that workspace and then the workspace thread level. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and wrap up there. We're 10 minutes after the hour. Again, I want to thank all of you for participating in today's demonstration. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice afternoon.